wanted to know, essentially, how does syphilis kill a person? That was essentially the research question. So, you can actually do this kind of research if there's an illness out there for which there's no cure. You can actually track its development. Okay? So there's nothing actually ethically wrong with wanting to conduct a study to see how syphilis slowly kills people. The problem was that these researchers decided they were going to do this study entirely on black males. And the title of the study had to do with the development of syphilis in the Negro male. So they posed it as we want to know how syphilis kills specifically black men. Okay? Now the study started in 1932. There were about 400 men involved. There was a control group, and there was a group that received treatment for their syphilis. But the treatment wasn't actually treatment. It was vitamins. They were offered free meals, checkups. Okay? The study originally was supposed to last, I believe it was 6 months. The study ended up going from 1932 to 1972. Now here's the catch. Nobody was actually told they had syphilis. So these men that were in the study were never told what they had. They were told they had bad blood, which was this all-purpose term for you're sick, something's wrong with you. And they were kept in this study believing that they were receiving some kind of treatment, and they really weren't because there was no known treatment, for 40 years. So, clearly you can see that there was no informed consent because people joined the study not knowing that they had syphilis. They were never told what they had. But the greatest violation of this study, maybe not the greatest, but equally as bad, was that at some point during the course of the study, there was a treatment for syphilis. It was penicillin. Despite the treatment being sort of recognized now by the medical community, the people, the doctors, the researchers in the study did not reveal that to their participants and kept them in the study without treatment. So these are the two major violations of the study. The first is nobody was told what they had. The second is once treatment was available out in the world, they did not immediately halt the study and start treating everybody. They continued on, essentially, as if there were no treatment still. So, this is an important example because people often ask, why do you have to submit an IRB every year? If you submitted it once and had it approved, why do you have to keep resubmitting if you change nothing about your experiment? You just keep resubmitting. Why do that at all? This is why. This study went on for 40 years. What would have happened if, around the time of Tuskegee, during this study, these doctors and researchers had to submit an IRB, let's say, every year? What would have happened on the year when penicillin was discovered to be a cure?
It will be stopped.
What?
The experiment will be stopped.
Who would have stopped it?
IRB.
The IRB would have stopped it. So maybe that experiment, nothing changed. It was being run the same way every single year, but the year that penicillin came out, remember, that IRB has to have a medical professional, it's got to have a scientist on it. The person reading the study reading the overview, the proposal, and so on, would say this study has to stop because now there's a treatment. It is no longer ethical to keep these men in this study. And so the Tuskegee study and its failure in general, in terms of ethical behavior, was actually the reason for the IRB's creation. That is what prompted it. There has to be a committee, and they have to continually review. It has to be annual review. Because maybe nothing about your study changed, but the circumstances around it changed. Okay. And just briefly, another example of poor consent. So the CIA, in sort of our own country's history, has undertaken experiments using LSD and hallucinogens, and they wanted to do this sort of covertly so people were not told that they were consuming these drugs. Instead, what they did was here, and actually internationally, they would poison the water source. There were little villages in France where people just, got really sick and went crazy, and nobody understood why. And then they found out that, we had sort of poisoned their water source with LSD just to see what happens. A lot of members of the military were used for these experiments. There's a project called MKUltra where they tried, I guess the eventual goal was to see whether or not you could elicit some kind of mind reading or mind influencing capabilities through the use of these drugs. And again, the idea is that LSD is actually really, really horrible for you if you don't know that you're taking it. Right? It's very different than somebody willingly using a drug or being poisoned with it, not realizing what's going on, and induced, suicide, mental illness in individuals. Okay? But they couldn't be told. The idea was that they had to sort of observe people who did not know what they were consuming. Okay? And I'm going to stop there, and we will continue.